Hello, everybody. Today we're going to delve into self-care, but from a lady standpoint. What is the big difference between lady and men, and how they utilize self-care? It is very important to note at the very beginning, although ladies are very much considered the caregivers, uh, self-care is a completely different way of thinking about providing care. And in this way, we have to kind of forget all the things that we think we know because they were fashioned by some outdated styles of achievement of self care. Now, there is this popular thinking nowadays that self care is doing a health related action for oneself, whether it appeals to mental health, physical health, or emotional health. Uh, this is kind of true in the sense that it's good to do those things, but in the sense that that is already at its end point. You can only do those actions, and there isn't a growth that has to happen for you to be able to utilize these things. We can say that they are a failure in the teaching of what self care is, even though they might be considered actions of self care. Now, I did mention that it's a little bit different than how we generally care, and I'm going to go a little bit more into that. I'm going to start off with a statement that all hard things must be overcome by softness. So this means that there is an element of doing things in a lighter way, with a lighter touch, that is more powerful than doing things with a more abrupt or blunt or aggressive approach. And this is ideally the power of ladies in general, but also the power of correction. Now, a good element to note as well is that self care is not like fitness and is not like health per se. It has very much a very strong restorative aspect to it. And because it is restoring, it's not particularly gaining more, but it's correction in nature. So where something has went left and it should have went right, we correct that and make sure that the energy is focused on a kind of moving forward, but not in the sense of fast. Essentially, the slow is the closer proponent to restoration than it is fast. If you're engineering something and doing it from scratch, there's no limitations to what you can decide to do with that. The whole idea is yours, and you can move from there and create it as you see fit. However, restoration has to come from a place of large amounts of knowledge about a specific thing, and acquiring all this great knowledge, we then have the ability to bring life back into it, right? So that is the restorative element of self-care that is attributed to what we're going to be talking about today. Now, for ladies, we have a large challenge with COVID, with the lack of social interaction, seeing family, being close to young children, or young ones, being close to our parents, the elderly, and this automatically will put a strain on mental and emotional health for ladies. Also for men, but more for ladies. And because of this strain, and also because of the fact that ladies are now responsible for still the health of the entire family, still the health of their parents, still the health of themselves, and still the progression of their careers. And as you can see, those are four extremely large and powerful things to have to take responsibility for. Now, it is my suggestion that we don't particularly take responsibility in the sense that we have to make it happen, but from the sense that we have the right approach to the situation. Now, we have to draw a very strong line here that everybody's life is theirs to live. And ladies, we tend to take over too much responsibility for how things work out, because it seems like it's up to us. If we care enough, then we will make it happen. However, there is a limitation to that thinking, and that often those pieces there lead to the idea of sacrifice. Now, self-care, as we know it, or traditionally would be seen, is in the way of sacrifice. I don't do this, so my family can do that. And if you know anything about my previous videos and been following those things, we know that self-care can never be achieved by sacrifice. It is only achieved by abundance. So in this way, we have to be a little bit more strategic with the things that we decide to take on and do, and when we allow it to be our responsibility. Now, that being said, I think the challenge here is that we equate caring about somebody as doing certain actions. However, caring about somebody is generally the process of giving them the best we have to offer. Now, in doing that from a place that we're not sacrificing, it generally turns out to be advice and feeling related, right? So I can give you advice, and you may not be able to act on that advice, and you might do something that I consider to be the opposite. In doing the opposite, I take responsibility for you going that way. But we have to realize that that is that person's life to live. And when they come to the conclusion of our advice, they'll be happy to hear the rest of the things we have to say. But they do have to live their own life. And we don't want to attach our happiness with their happiness, because there will be a point in time where they might leave and decide to do their own things, or might have different interests or passions, or need to be independent of us. So we have to allow that to happen. And when that happens, we have to make sure that we've cultivated a kind of inner purpose as opposed to an external purpose, where we still feel fulfilled even though life hasn't been continuing. And we're able to fall back on the things that we are passionate about, because we've established what those things are, and we've followed them in its surplus as opposed to sacrifice for everybody else. And once everybody else is taken care of, then I'll take care of myself. I'll have the time, and we're going to be fairly sure that other things will go on your plate, and you will not make the time because you've established a long lineage of sacrifice. And not only that, if we're going to be really, really strong with our definition here, how can we teach our children to appreciate the things that they have if we've been teaching them the whole time how to sacrifice for those things? So they get the beautiful house that they always wanted, but they sacrificed all the relationships they had before to get it. Or they decide to work every single day, and they sacrifice the family connections that they should be making for their mental and emotional health. Now, this is a big challenge because ladies are normally looked up to for this kind of wisdom, this wisdom that comes more from the heart, I guess, than the mind. But we also have to refine the style of thinking so that we can be a stronger symbol of this thing and not have to rely so much on actions, but on interactions with other people, that they can feel what it feels like to be somebody who puts themselves first in a way of being able to take care of others. If you lead by example, people will follow the example. And ultimately, if we lead by sacrificing things, people will follow our way of sacrifice. What they sacrifice, what they feel important might change, but it will be still strongly related to this sacrifice thing. Now, we can say that ladies have a stronger sense of doing things from a place of loving and caring, and we want to establish this as a way of being and not just a way of acting. And to do this, I feel in this day and age, we have to spend a little bit more time cultivating our personalities so that we can lead by our example. And in that way, show people how wonderful it is to be somebody who lives from a place of being fulfilled first and then reaching out to others.